Welcome to Your Brand Amplified, the podcast where we interview marketers, publicists, and brands to learn their stories, what makes them tick, and tips and tricks that make a difference. I am so thrilled today on Your Brand Amplified to have Aaditya Mehta on the show. I was recently on his podcast, Personality Development Podcast, and it was so much fun. And Aaditya, you just are a very bright light. You bring a lot of value. I can tell how much you care about your audience. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much for saying those kind words. I really appreciate that. And today I'm really excited to be on the other side. So I'm the one who is going to answer today. So it's really exciting for me today.
Wonderful. And by day, you are a business analyst.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And how did you get into business for your day job?
That's a great question. I always wanted to become a programmer. So I code a lot. And even today, if I want to automate something in Excel, I would just write a code and make my work really easier. But business analyst is something in the information technology industry where I have to communicate with people on daily basis, and it's always some different person, maybe within the organization or outside the organization as well. And I have to understand what a business is, what are its requirements, and how can I make the employees' work life more easier with my understanding, and then going to the developer and saying him that I want this kind of a system which will make the employees' life really, really easier, and it will generate some great productivity in the organization as well. And at the same time, it will generate more income for the organization. And that's the reason I'm there, right? So yeah, that's basically what I do as a business analyst. I analyze the business. Based on that, I go to the developer and tell him that this type of system I want.
Wonderful. And how did you go from coding to business analyst to podcasting?
Wow. I have like two answers. Should I go for the shorter one, or you want a big answer?
Give it all to us. Tell us the whole story. That we love the storytelling.
Currently, I would say the first episode which I released was in the year 2020. So yes, podcasting is a COVID product for me. But what I believe is my podcasting journey has started right from the year 2012. Okay. The reason for that is I joined this amazing academy where I have to teach computer to people. So I was really good at Excel. I was really good at website design and coding, and I love to teach. Okay, but not in the initial phase where I started teaching. I had this crippling social anxiety that I can't talk to people. I would never talk to people, especially who are strangers. Okay, but even who are known to me, I would have to think like 1,000 times, what should I talk? I don't know what to talk, So I had that level of social anxiety. But later on, when I joined this academy, I have to talk to people to teach them, right? I have to talk to them, and they are complete strangers to me. And some of the people were really well accomplished people. Like they were having big businesses and they were really smart and intelligent, and teaching them when they were asking this amazing questions to me. And I didn't had answer, but I have to go back, research on it, and then go back to them and saying that the answer to your question is this. So that really helped me to come out of that social anxiety, and I was really fortunate, and I'm really grateful that my boss over there actually gave me some great opportunities to do public speaking as well. I remember my first public speaking was good, but before that, I hadn't slept for like 2 or 3 nights.
Oh no.
Because I was so anxious, but I did it. And then I thought that if I can do this, I'm definitely sure I can do much more things as well. And I'm so grateful for that. I mean, he just kept giving me opportunities after opportunities for public speaking. Sometimes I didn't do well as well, but he just believed in me and said, it's fine. Some days are bad.
Exactly.
But your talent is something which we all need. So make sure to go out there and express yourself.
Wonderful.
And I was like, that's really nice. Okay. So all that public speaking started back in 2012 to 2016. Later on, I was a manager over there as well, where, I have to handle like leadership roles. And later on in 2020, I was completely shut down to public speaking because of COVID, and there wasn't any public speaking, right? So I was missing that kick which I got from public speaking, from teaching to students and all that. And I believe online teachings are good, but I didn't really enjoy it because I couldn't get the people engaged in that kind of conversation. And I feel I didn't really know how to do that in online meetings, online coachings as well. So I thought I need something so that could give me a good kick. And there was this amazing app back then which was known as OpenTalk. So OpenTalk was this application very similar to Clubhouse now, but back then it was just like two people can join the panel, not more than two people, and it's a live podcast kind of thing. So I started that, and the response was amazing. And I was like, good, this is something which I'm loving right now, and people can ask me questions, and this is something which I want to do. And within, I guess, 2 months, the app got shut down. And
Oh, wow.
I was like, now what should I do? Right. And there is one of my friends who is a book blogger, and she is really good at that. And she told me that, you know what, Aditya, I mean, I have listened to some of your open talks as well, and I feel you can start a podcast. And lucky enough, I knew what podcast was with this amazing series I watched, which was known as God Friended Me. And there was this character which is known as Miles Runner, I guess. So he was the guy who used to do podcasting, and it was an amazing series altogether.
Okay.
I knew what podcasting was, but I didn't knew how famous that is in India, and certainly I didn't know how to start one. So he told me that, you know what, just do one thing, download this app, and you can just start speaking all the things which you have in mind. And I'm pretty sure you will do well. And I'm like, okay, let me give it a try. Okay, if it works out, it's fine. If it doesn't, I'll just drop it and continue with my day job, which I'm having right now. So I still have those season 1 recordings, and it is also there on my podcast. I haven't deleted that.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I love public speaking. Put me in front of an audience, tell me 5 minutes before what I'm supposed to talk about, and I'll just get up and come up with something, right? You went from being scared to speak to loving it and seeing that you had a talent for it and a gift for it. And I'm so glad that you had people who pushed you to continue honing those skills. Right. But it's the same thing. Moving to podcasting, it's a different medium. So my first few were not, I mean, I love the people that were on them, but I feel like they're more stilted. It's not as natural. Right. It's because you have to get used to this medium and how to speak on it and what your personality is on it.
Yes. And I mean, it was awful for me. I mean, even if I record it today, I mean, if I listen to it today, how could people like that? But the response was amazing. I mean, I couldn't believe that people did liked it, and they really told me that you have a great voice and, you know, you should go for it. Okay. Nice. And lucky for me, I have this people who would push me off the cliff just to tell me that, no, you can swim. Although I don't know if I can swim or not, you know. So, you know, they would just push me off and they will let me know that you have a talent. Come on, you can do it. Right. So I got a great response, and then I thought that I have to do it. I mean, let's just get into it. And then I thought that I might not have that much of a knowledge to share, but I'm pretty sure there are people out there, there are experts who would give an immense amount of knowledge to the people. So I thought, let's bring them on the podcast. And in the process, I'm learning and the people are learning, and the experts would get a platform to speak on.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for everyone. And that is something which took off. And currently in India, it's in top 50. So I'm really glad about it.
Yeah. So talk about the market. I mean, and one thing is I love the fact that podcasting connects us across the world, right?
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing in that way. And I'd love to hear more about the Indian market for podcasting, because it is the biggest market in the world. So do you see things when you're talking to other podcasters or learning from podcasters from other countries? What are the differences, if any, in podcasting in India? And how do you grow your audience there? Is it the same techniques? Do you think some things are easier, some things are harder? I know that when we did our podcast, you have a WhatsApp group. I love WhatsApp, a great way to communicate with people all over.
Yeah, I mean, first thing, the differences which I found was in India, people like to know more about the history, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And from the history, they would like to learn some lessons from it. So I did 2 of the solo podcast, which was based on the Hindu scripture Ramayana, okay? And I picked out some lessons from it, like communication lessons from Ramayana, corporate lessons from Ramayana, and many more things from it, and people loved it, okay? Whereas in the other countries, I see that they are more focused on the practical approach, okay? Like they like to ask questions and they want their answers, so it is more over on a practical side. I really love that. And it's like in India, they like stories more. That's what I feel. Like I may be completely wrong in that, but we like stories a lot, and I love learning through stories. It's something which always lets us know about our past, and it also lets us know that why were the things the way they are. And I really go into that world while someone is saying the story, right? So it's just amazing that way. But I really love the approach which other countries have with podcasting, that they have a more practical approach towards it. And I really believe that that is something which we need to learn. Of course, storytelling is amazing, but we need to also learn about the practical way as well. The things are working in a more practical way. So that is something which we need to learn, I guess. And I feel with this podcast going live, and your podcast is this the one which will teach a lot of people about more practical stuffs about marketing and advertising and public relations, I guess. That is really, really superb. And by the way, let me tell you this, our podcast where you were speaking about some of the amazing things in marketing and public relations, they really loved it, okay? And their minds were blown, and they were really thinking about, oh, this could be done. We haven't done that yet, okay?
I love that.
I mean, people are learning and people are growing in India to learn more about the practical approach.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, stories are also important. And I feel it is something which makes us feel more connected with. And that's one difference which I found between the Indian podcasting market and the other podcasting market.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I agree with you. I think so many times podcasters, particularly in the US, have a very straightforward approach, asking the business questions, a little bit maybe about your background, but more getting right to the heart of the business. And for me, your brand Amplified really is about who are you as a brand? Who are you as a person? And what are you bringing to the table? I want to hear your stories. And I want to hear how that's created and shaped what you do, how you approach it, and then what are the lessons? So, and it might be because I also have Southeast Asian, my mom is Thai and Lao. And so we also have a rich storytelling. And it also is probably because of my job, right? I want to hear the stories so that I know better how to create and craft that marketing. So how has podcasting changed life for you? I mean, the world has opened back up somewhat. I still work virtually. I still work from home most of the time, except when I'm teaching. And I get to do this virtually, but you're back out in the world. You're fitting podcasting in, right, to like middle of the night. So
it has changed my life completely, I would say. There is an English proverb that if you stay with 5 millionaires, you are going to be the 6th one. If you stay with 5 smart people, you are going to be the 6th one. If you stay with 5 businessmen, you are going to be the 6th one. So when I talk with these amazing people, okay, I got to learn like so much amount of things. My perception towards life has changed, okay? And one of the most important thing which I feel has changed is I have started implementing more, okay? Because the thing is, if let's say someone is talking about journaling on my podcast, so as a podcaster, what I have to do is that if on my podcast, these things are being taught, then of course I have to be the first one to implement it. Okay. And then I can expect that my audience would do that. Right. So one of the most important thing which I learned is implementing things which I learn rather than, just listening to it. And I have learned this amazing lesson that you most of the times want to hear things which you feel is right. And that's the reason I guess social media is so much popular, right? Because it makes you feel that you are right. But I have gotten this lesson that sometimes you need to hear things which is real for you, okay, which will actually make you grow rather than just, pampering you. So I feel that is one thing that these two things have completely changed my life. So now when I do journaling, I have also started gratitude writing and so much more. With all those things, my life has completely changed. And now I can speak to people as well. And every time I meet someone, it's complete stranger. And then I have to make a connection with them. And it comes super easy to me now. Right? Before, it was really difficult. And most of the times in my earlier days of podcasting as well, I would again and again postpone the meeting. I'm quite nervous. I don't know what to speak. I'm not prepared, right? But later on, things changed because I met this amazing people, I guess. So yeah, it has completely changed my life from being a person who was afraid of starting a conversation with someone on the road, but now I can easily do that because of that. And now I have so much amount of gratitude towards other. I'm really grateful for the things which I do. And, I have understood what are the things which I need to work on and what are the things which I can improve on in the time period. I have done that as well. I have done my homework as well. So I feel, with these things, when you learn as a person that you have to improve yourself and in what areas you have to improve yourself, that itself completely, changes the life of any person. So yeah, that's what has changed.
Amazing. Now, I want to go back a little bit to your day job. What are some of the biggest things that you see when you're analyzing businesses that people could change very easily to have more productivity, more employee satisfaction, more money flowing in rather than flowing out? Are there some quick things that people or entrepreneurs should think about?
I believe the first thing I would start with is learning technology. Okay. That's the number one thing. Okay. Because you see, let's say for an example, I would take Excel. So there are two things in Excel. Okay. Either you do a simple data entry or there is a good chance that you can use a formula and you can do it in minutes rather than hours. Okay. So that's the very first thing where productivity can be increased, okay, by learning technology. I have seen people who have this great degrees, they have great knowledge about the business, about the work which they do. They have amazing knowledge. But the only thing, I guess, which I would say they can improve on is technology, learning technology. And most of the times what happens is you are in your comfort zone and you know that this thing is to be done in this way. Other than that, there is no way you can do it. Okay. That mindset needs to be changed. Okay. If it is about learning, I have to learn. Okay. No matter what. Okay. That's one thing which can increase the productivity by, I would say, 5 times rather than normal. Apart from that, a clear and concise communication. I would like to share this. There is one of my vendor who speaks really clear and concise. Okay. Like he would not miss even a single thing so that people would have any confusion.
Okay.
And I love talking to him, although sometimes he is a bit harsh, but still I love talking to him because he's so clear and concise in all the things which he talks. Even on emails, he's like super good and he covers each and every points which we talked in the meeting as well. And then he says, we had a conversation, we talked upon these points. Now you have to confirm if there is any gap in understanding. I'm like, man, this guy is something different. I love talking to this guy. And then there is other kind of people which I talk to, and no one, I'm not criticizing anyone. I mean, I love talking to people no matter what their mindsets or what their communication type is. But then there are other mindsets as well in communication where they try to go around the bush and then they try to make their point. And I'm like, okay, that's good as well. And I completely love it. But I think the corporate environment, I would say that can be changed. I feel if it is more clear and concise, it would be really, really easy to understand. And that's what I feel. Then there are other kind of people as well who wouldn't be able to understand and who wouldn't make an effort to make others understand about that particular thing. Right? And that's where the problem comes, because then there is like a huge amount of confusion. Then we have to go and ask them again and again, okay, can you please explain me this point again, because I don't understand. And in India, especially, there is one thing which needs to be changed is it is not important to talk in English in India. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure in USA, it's a completely different scenario, and all the other countries, it might be a different scenario. But in India, speaking in English is taken as you are more knowledgeable. Okay. That's how the mindset of Indians are. And I feel that's not a good mindset to have, because language doesn't define a human being. So sometimes if you don't know a particular language, you please speak in Hindi. I mean, that's completely fine. Okay. Because we are in India and the national language of India is Hindi. And it is mostly considered that speaking in English is like, totally cool, but it's fine to speak in Hindi in India. And I think similarly for all the other countries where English is not the national language, it's fine to speak in the national language so that others can understand what you want to speak. However, in India, there are more languages, okay? If we really count the number of languages in India, I don't know the exact number, but I'm definitely sure that there are more than 50. And I'm pretty sure that is the least number which I'm talking about for the safer side. Okay. So I feel language shouldn't be the barrier. If someone wants to talk something, talk in a way that other person understands. Okay, rather than, talking just to impress, talk with expressing yourself. I think that is one thing which can really, really improve the productivity.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a good and bad thing that so much the world speaks English, because it's almost done a disservice to United States Americans, right? Because really, if you can speak more than one language, if you speak Hindi and you speak English, that is wonderful. And you're using different parts of your brain than if you are monolingual and you only speak English. So it's a really beautiful thing. And I think that should be celebrated, to speak multiple languages. And if you don't know, like I know a little bit of Thai, I know some French, I don't know enough that I feel super comfortable having a full conversation, but if I'm in Thailand, it comes back to me, right? If I'm in France or around French-speaking people, I can pick up what they're saying, and all of that stuff is important. And so I agree with you. Just because if you can't speak English, it's okay. You still have the opportunity to communicate effectively in your native language. So yeah, fantastic. So what is next for you, Aaditya?
Well, there are many things in the bucket list for sure. The first thing which I want to do is grow the community, okay, where people can learn more and more things. The very first thing which I want to do, and I am saying this because I have come from the background where we all know education is expensive, and especially when it comes to the knowledge which is not being taught in colleges, especially for the engineering students, like communication skills are never taught in college. Leadership skills are never taught in college. Corporate skills are not taught in college, right? So I want to connect the experts with the learners. Okay. That is the number one thing which I want to do. And if I can do that with the help of a community, that is something which is next for me. So I'm pretty sure I have this aim that I want to do that. And coming from the background where these things costed more and I wasn't able to do that in my early days. I mean, for learning communication skills, there are good consultancies over here, which costs you more, so I would say approximately $1,000. No, I might be exaggerating, but I'm pretty sure it's $100 to $200 to learn a good, effective communication skills. If I talk about rupees, the minimum cost which would come is around 35,000 rupees to 40,000 rupees. And not many people have that much amount of money.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't lack these knowledge. They shouldn't lack these skills. They need to learn it as well, right? So the main aim is to get that knowledge to the people out there who doesn't have enough money, but they want to learn. They are very curious to learn. So I would like to provide that knowledge to those people as well.
Yeah, I believe that you do. And on social media, you're a personality development podcast, which is also the name of your podcast. So it's you can also go to personalitydevelopmentpodcast.com, right, to follow the podcast, see your episodes. You do a great job of promoting different aspects of each guest on your social media. So that's definitely something people should pay attention to. Yeah. So Aditya, thank you so much for being here. I wanted to see, do you have a favorite quote or mantra or some words that you live by?
There's just one thing which I always believe, that is, no matter what, if there is something which you want to learn, just go for it and just give it a start. I'm saying this because I have implemented things in my life and I've seen people implement things in their lives as well. And I think it's because they started. Okay. I mean, I have seen so many podcasters and so many public speakers, and I've seen their first public speak. I've seen their first episode, and they were really good in that, but they evolved themselves in such a better way that, it feels like they are a completely different person. I mean, that's something which I believe in. The second thing which I believe in is to observe people. Okay. There is one spiritual assembly which I always go in on every Monday. It happens in my locality. And over there, I learned this one sentence, and it is basically in Gujarati. That is my mother tongue as well. It's one of the native language in India. બીજાના ગુણને ગ્રહણ કરવો અને પોતાના અવગુણનો ત્યાગ કરવો. Okay. So it means that you have to take good things from or good habits from others. And whatever you possess, your bad habits, you have to leave them. That's typically what it means. And normally what happens is people tend to notice others' bad things, rather than taking the good habits from them. I'll give you an example on that. I mean, I know I'm a pretty descriptive kind of a guy, so I just like to describe in detail.
Yeah, please.
So there is this one boss in my previous company, and he just used to work like 3 hours in a day out of 8 hours of job. He used to work only for 3 hours, and all of us would work for 10 to 12 hours because our job was not getting over. So the first thing which I thought was that how amazing his life is. He just works for 3 hours, and I feel we should do that as well. I mean, no one tells anything to him. I'm pretty sure no one will tell us anything, right? That was my first reaction. Later on, one of my very good friends says to me that, why he works only for 3 hours? Because he completes his entire work in 3 hours, which we are not able to complete in 10 hours as well.
Interesting.
And that's because he's really good with technology. He's really good with his logic. And that's the reason he just works for 3 hours. I'm like, damn, that's something which I never thought about, right? So most of the times, I feel we tend to see what's in front of us and we don't see the background of it. So I believe you really have to observe people very well for that. That's number one. But there is a very fine line between observing and comparing yourself with others.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. Because if you compare yourself with others, all you're going to get is insecurity. Right? But when you observe, you're always going to learn. And when you learn, you always grow and come out as a better person than what you were yesterday.
Yeah.
So I feel that is another thing which I live upon nowadays.
Okay. It's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on. I know it's the middle of the night or early morning in India right now when we're doing this interview. So I really appreciate that you've taken this time out of your sleep and everything else you could be doing to be on your brand Amplified. I know we're going to have more conversations in the future, and I will have your podcast in the show notes. I really encourage everybody to listen to Personality Development Podcast, follow us both, subscribe to both of our podcasts. Give us some reviews. We love it. It really helps us shape the kind of guests we're going to have and what we're going to do.
And one more thing which I would like to tell to your audience, I just want to congratulate them that they listen to this podcast, because, the number one thing which they are doing is they are taking out time to listen to this podcast and grow themselves. So congratulations, audience, for doing that. I believe that's really, really an amazing thing which you are doing. So make sure to do that. And all I want to say is you can be a hero for other people as well. So make sure to share this podcast, Your Brand Amplified, to your friends as well. And even a single thing can click and you can be a hero in their life as well. So make sure to share this podcast as well.
I need to have you be my hype person. And I will say to the audience, I go back and listen to the episodes because I'm writing things, I'm listening, I'm taking in information while I'm doing the interview. But I always go back and listen because then I always learn something else from my guests as well. So hopefully you do too. And thank you so much for coming back for another week of Your Brand Amplified. I'll be back again in a few days with another amazing brand and expert story.
Want more? Check out amplifywithannika.com or follow me on socials at amplifywithannika.